So I obviously live in Texas, if you haven't caught on to that yet. And obviously the Texas Rangers are nearing towards the very end of the World Series, last game tonight. There's a lot of people that all of a sudden become really enthusiastic about the Texas Rangers, which I understand. You know, you're going to create fans if you're winning games. You know, you're going to lose fans if you're losing games. Obviously, when the Rangers weren't doing so well this year, they weren't discussed. Okay, now that they're towards the end of the World Series, you can't go not 3 seconds without seeing a Rangers hat, a Rangers shirt, or something with the trademark of the Texas Rangers, or it even being discussed. I mean, it's just being talked about every corner. You know, even I go to the bank today, and I had some mental errors, to say the least. And she goes, "Oh, I understand. You must have stayed up late watching the World Series game." Oh, damn. No, I didn't. No, I did not stay up. I honestly haven't watched not one split second. But what does that have to do with anything? Although I don't watch the World Series, I do pay attention to other things of which most people don't pay attention to at all. Regardless of what time period it is. Although, the things that I tend to pay attention to, like the news, maybe, like issues, and so on and so forth, most people dab into that just a tiny bit when the elections comes around, just a tiny bit, and even then, they really don't pay attention to it. They're not enthusiastic about it. They're just listening to people talk, and they deem that person all correct or all incorrect. It is just about how it works. It seems like it's either you're all for Rick Perry or you're all against Rick Perry, and the same goes with, you know, Obama and Michelle Bachmann and all the other damn candidates. But I just wished, you know, I see that these people are so enthusiastic about the Texas Rangers, and that it literally would make their day or break their day, per their own testimony, whether the Rangers win or lose. And I just for 1 second wish that they would be this enthusiastic about real world issues that actually affect their lives, because the Texas Rangers don't really affect their lives. The only way that the Texas Rangers affects these people's lives is it takes money out of their bank account whenever they're spending money to support the Rangers, which is all fine and dandy. And if you people want to be all happy about it, that's great. But you're being robbed. You're being robbed every single year. Not even every year. Probably more common than that. You are being absolutely raped out of not only finances, but rights and freedoms and civil liberties. And, you know, your kids aren't getting a proper education, and we aren't we don't have the quality health care that we could, and you know, there's just a whole slew of issues. Not that, but we're still in wars, you know, and you know, we're still looking to hand out millions, if not billions, of private contracts, military contracts, and we're still building all these damn missiles and fighter jets and all this shit that we don't need. But all that doesn't matter. You know why? Because the Rangers are in the World Series. And, you know, and I'm sure if you're in St. Louis, the Cardinals are in the World Series. And, you know, I'm sure Wall Street and other politicians and all the other actual high-end criminals that affect a lot of people, I'm sure they love the World Series. They love the World Series, they love the Super Bowl, they love American Idol and X Factor, and they love when you have to debate about homosexual rights and abortion rights and all this other shit. You know why? Because they love the distraction. They love that you are being distracted from the real world issues that we could change. And we very well could change them. And people like I are not going to change them. It's going to have to take a collective effort, but it also takes a collective effort to pay attention and want these things to change. And that simply isn't happening, because the only collective effort going on right now is the collective effort to sit at home and turn on the baseball game. That's the only effort that we're putting forth right now, because that's all that apparently matters at this point in time. But they certainly do. They love the distraction. And while all these Occupy Wall Street protests are going on, and I do favor them, and I do love what they're doing, we need Occupy Wall Street riots, to be honest with you. And I know that sounds very aggressive, but in Europe they have riots. You know, you see a lot of rioting, because riots make points. You see these people with protests, and they have signs that I agree with, and I love them to death. But signs only do so much, because while you're waving around a sign making your point, there's these rich cocksuckers up there with their cocktails and expensive champagnes dabbing on them with their millions if not billions of dollars in their bank accounts, looking over like, look at the little peasants, look at them watch me drink this. You know what we should be doing? We should be tearing down that building. We should have riots throwing bottles of alcohol lit on fire just straight through the window. That would make a point, ladies and gentlemen. That would make a point. And another thing would make a point is quit being so distracted. You know, homosexual rights, although they need to be there, the rights of people of all types need to be in place. It's not about just abortion rights and homosexual rights and black rights and Mexican rights and immigration rights and all that. It's about the rights of humans. The rights of humans. And I know your typical white middle class person is just going to focus on the poor and the welfare and the illegal immigrants. But I don't think they have near the effect on society nor this country that the rich do. And it really just boggles my mind that we would be so enthusiastic and so emotionally attached to something so silly and unimportant and insignificant as a World Series game than we do as the rights that are stripped of us and the freedoms that are taken away and the actual high-end, very populous, vast criminal activity that's taken place by the wealthy and those that you admire, you absolutely admire. So that's it. So fuck the World Series and fuck the wealthy both.